This is the part 2 of my interaction with Aniketh Jain. If you haven't heard the part 1 yet, I would encourage you to listen to it first. It's episode number 30, Bootstrapping from Koramangala to NYSE. In a moment, we'll get to the episode, but first, here's a message from our featured not-for-profit. There are many people who are not able to afford their daily needs, especially food. Youth for Parivartan, a not-for-profit from Bengaluru, is supporting to bridge the gap. As thousands of you tune in, I urge you to join me to feed 100 families. They have already fed 800 plus families and they want to take it to the next level by supplying them kits. Now these kits include 2 kgs of rice, 1 kg of wheat flour, half kg of tur dal, half liter cooking oil, 1 salt packet, 1 chili powder packet, and 1 biscuit. I'm asking you to feed just 1 family. It costs 250 rupees only. Less than a movie ticket, less than what it costs for a pizza, and less than what it costs for a Jio subscription. Let's make this contribution. Let's focus on taking SMS and billing onto it with all the other products. If you could give an insight to the listener, because the average listener right now is thinking, I'm being bombarded with so many SMSs, it's not relevant. There are very few probably ones that I really pay attention to. And this must have been the case back then as well, though you have branched out into so many other aspects. When you made that pivot, how did you start building onto it? And I love that you notice a problem and you have this jugaad mechanism in you and you convert that into a really interesting business opportunity. I wish Ashish was here, we could talk both the sides of it. But let's focus on how do you do that? How did you notice the opportunity in SMS, which wasn't that huge at that time?
If I remember back in 2011, when we started messaging as a service, very early on in that business, we used to do a lot of these campaigns, which were like unwanted, unrelated campaigns. Typically, somebody wants to acquire a new customer, so you have a list and then you bombard blanket bombing, we call it. You just send out these messages and you hope that 1 or 2 customers or 1 or 2 people will buy your product, which is like either a real estate product or insurance or a hair treatment. So all of that. Also, quickly, we also, as part of the learning curve, right? So that was our the first sort of bet on to get business first, and then we'll figure out. I quickly realized that I think.
What do you mean get business first and then we'll figure out? Because that's a different strategy.
And we don't do a lot of technical deep dive into what kind of business you want. We are not very choosy. You are very young. You want to prove yourself, or your people around you to build a company, right? To build business. So whatever comes your way, you just take it, good, bad, ugly. So let's say that those messages were ugly and irritating and all of that. It was anyway. It was nothing illegal about it. People were sending, so we were also like adding more to that. That was the most sort of low-hanging fruit for us to acquire those kind of customers. Like somebody has a real estate business, has an apartment, 2-bedroom, and wants to has some 100 2-bedroom apartments for sale. He wants to target customers, and we said, okay, look, let's do it. This is our opportunity. So we went that deeper, saying, okay, let's get this business. Once you get this business, you realize, okay, I think so. These businesses are very seasonal in nature. So today the real estate guy wants to do the campaign. Tomorrow he doesn't have the budget. Day after tomorrow, so he says my properties are sold out, so I don't need to do any more campaign. And they're very seasonal, so they will have these offers and discount and all that. And we also realized when we were doing that when we were in that phase journey, we realized that it's important to be more consistent. So now, what is consistent? In this business model for us was anything that happens on a daily basis, which is transactional, which is not irritating, which customers really want, and life will change if they don't get transaction.
Something stable,
right? Predictable, right? So, and something which a customer wants, not like customer is not expecting. Like I do a transaction, and 2012-13 is the phase where a lot of new age companies started coming in. New age companies like Ola, like Flipkarts have started evolving as an organization, right? And customer communication became key. And it went on to become more critical because, and then there are these food delivery companies came in, then there's this fintech companies, new lending service and all that. And I think we were at that right tipping point, I would say. So we got that kind of business. We were doing consistently well in Bangalore. And then there was this sudden big burst of these startups coming up, all these new age startups, trying to solve all, funny problems or problems that exist only in India. And OTP suddenly became like a big factor for companies. OTP is like two-factor authentication. Like when you download an app, you get an OTP, you need to verify as a user because a lot of fake users were coming in, and that's the only way that you could do is through OTP verification.
And it's like an India-only solution.
And the most stable is the stable communication is SMS because it purely resides on the network, which is the 2G network. It doesn't need data. It doesn't need any of those things. It is very, very stable. And then data was just evolving, right? 2009, 10, 11, 12. Data was there, but it was not, you were running on edge, right? And I think in 2015 itself, a lot of 3G got evolved and then 4G and all that. And that was the phase where SMS was the only, the source of communication. So promotional so we call it as, in our business terminology, we call it as promotional. When there's a seasonal campaign, those are all promotional. And then there's a transaction, like I do particular transaction, I get a notification. That's called as a transaction. So I do a transaction, I get a notification as a confirmation. Then there's another element called we bifurcate, that is OTP. The difference between transaction and OTP is that typically you need to get OTP pretty faster. Like you need to get it in 5 seconds. Right. You do your transaction or you confirm or you verify yourself or whatever, right? So a lot of these elements came in and we realized that we need to be in this transactional and the OTP space. So we went after these customers. We reached out to, we had a huge sales marketing. We built a sales marketing team. Originally we were in Bangalore. I myself went to Bombay, lived there in 6 months in 2012. Built an office, set up an office, did sales myself in the new city, then hired people in that market.
Why though? Why would you do that? I'm just curious because the opportunity cost is so huge.
There are two philosophies to this business. One is inbound sales and outbound sales. Coming from a business background, I always understood why will customer reach out to you? It is always you have to reach out to customer. So that with that philosophy, we had to, while we were in Bangalore, we were getting sustainable business. How do we multiply this business into 4x, 5x? Now, the only way is that we move out of our comfort zone. The comfort zone was Bangalore for us in 2012. We had to take a call. We had to decide whether we want 5x growth. Get that 5x growth, we had to move to new cities, new business opportunity. So we did move to Bombay, then we moved to Hyderabad. We expanded into Delhi. So what we did is traditionally we went on with a traditional model. We hired a resource and he used to work from home for us. But he used to have a sales target and he used to do customer visits, sales, acquire, identify customer list, meet them. So we never had the online self-service model. So we went on to build that journey.
Very hands-on,
very touch and feel customer, face-to-face conversations. I think that some sort of gave a lot of confidence to startups because startups were like, okay, I can sign up, but if I meet somebody who can do it for me, he's there, a phone call away, I'm much more comfortable. We were there.
It's a very interesting insight.
So a lot of companies went on the other model, which is saying, I'm going to promote myself and then people will sign up on my platform and then I'm going to call them and say, hey, this is how you have to do. But I think market was not looking at that perspective. Market was looking at somebody who can meet them because these were very critical service. Unless until you really meet the person, you have the contact person, you have a point of contact, it's very hard for them to get convinced that this will work. So that journey was our traditional journey that we started in Bombay. We didn't move. I moved there.
Again, you start from scratch.
Essentially. Built a small office, 2-seater, hire resource, and so traditionally the tech team, everything sits here. Yeah. But we have a model where sales team and relationship team sits out of locally in that city. So today we have more than 300, 400, 500 customers in Bombay. We have a team there who are constantly in touch with the customer. And then very early on we got these customers, right? These new age customers. So they scaled. So it was I think for us, we didn't know what scale they will bring in, right? We were clueless. Food ordering. Okay, how many people will order food? Back in 2013, 14, okay, food ordering. Oh, this is a good problem.
It's a cool thing, yeah.
Cool thing. Theek hai, ghar pe khana is like a So, free of cost and everything. And I said, how long will this survive, right? And okay, things have changed and it's become really today an essential service today, right? Some strategic companies gave us, since we were connected, we were already hooked onto them, deeply integrated, gave us that edge.
So you just rode the wave.
We were part of the wave. And that wave gave us the interesting curve, interesting customer.
Are there any values that you follow? Now Kalera has core values, but back then, when it was still Solutions Infinity,
we had created so one of the things that we always is, we tell people not to reinvent the wheel. Reinvent the wheel. What it means is that you need to be smart. You need to, which means that whatever is available, you don't need to rebuild. Pick up something that is there. Build on top of it. Don't get into mode of saying I can do this on my own and do it. So one of the value was smart thinking. Ownership was one of the very critical, because a lot of young guys used to join us. A lot of people used to start their career at Solutions in Kalera / Typically, I've seen freshers 1 year experience, 2 year experience, and one of the fundamental values that we said: think smart, copy something that is available. Don't try to do too much thinking around it, because there's already people have proven some of these things, and that's how I think one of the reasons we've scaled is because of a lot of smart thinking, a lot of ownership coming in, and because people don't really they're scared of taking up ownership at the companies, and then you evolved them in the journey. So I said, okay, you start yourself, and next year we will give you a manager post. So why don't you aspire to work towards that and mold them, train them, modify them?
Because you're talking about people claim that you're bad at judgment. Of people. What do you look at when you're hiring or when you're building that team? In initial days, now, has it changed? Has it evolved?
I would say we were conservative back in the day, because every penny mattered, and we were looking at people who could just do what they were committed or what they were told to do those days. Because also I think we were slightly sort of, and we were actually doing. So we were saying, what, you're good enough. You have good communication skills. You have great. So rest of the things, don't worry, we can work with you. Learning business, don't worry, we can teach you. So with that, but now things have changed. Now, I would say the patience level is gone, because now you don't have that bandwidth to get into that hand-holding and all that. And now we look at more expertise, senior expertise who've done and proven, dusted this, whatever they've done in there. So we look at skills, we look at talent and the kind of skills that they've already done across. And then we say, okay, come and implement that in this organization, and that's changed. That's a huge change which is coming in now.
Wow, he's still not reinventing the wheel. He's being really smart at. It's a compliment.
Thanks. Yeah.
I like it. One thing I really love about the way you think is that you have this knack of fixing a jigsaw puzzle in your head, and the interesting thing is pieces in the puzzle, they come from different jigsaw puzzles, yet together they make sense. I mean, those who are listening to it, rewind a little and re-listen to it, because it's a little convoluted. How did you zoom out of just focusing on SMS, Aniketh, and as a company started focusing on communication? Because it's a huge shift in perspective.
So me and Ashish have these, and a couple of other folks also have a lot of these internal conversations, and to that conversation, and we keep discussing and what are the problems, who's doing work, who's not doing work, and when we pivoted, one of the strong point that came was that focus. Like, let's stop. So we were doing by 2011 we were doing like 10 things: SMS voicing, website hosting, domain registration, search engine optimization, digital marketing. We were doing all of these, right? When we were doing all of these, and when we decided to shut all of these and focus on just SMS, that gave us a constant, instant growth. So focus is something that we realize is the key point. And the more you go focus, the more you go into one topic, and you go as deeper as you will expand. You will get into like everything. So we became like an expert by 2014-15. We became like we were present in all over the country. By then, customers came back and said, hey, you know what, give us a presence in international... So customers started moving to international countries. They asked us to, why don't you provide me international messaging and scale it up and all of that. And we went on to scale. I think one of the fundamental thought was that focus. The more you focus, the better.
What drove this focus towards SMS? from our conversation, I understand that the customer was demanding it.
Yeah.
And that is why the needle just moved.
Yeah. So customers were constantly demanding, like I remember one of the customers were constantly demanding us, hey, you know what, you are... So customer also demanded plus feared, give us a bit of a... क्या बोलते हो blackmail को क्या बोलते हैं? Yeah, so like you know what, if you don't give me this, then I have to change my vendor.
Okay.
But for us, this is a dhanda pani, right? I mean, we can't lose. We have to do something about it. So come back and tell Ashish, we need this, we need that. A lot of our energy, time naturally started focusing on messaging as a service. Because customers demanded us, and if we don't give, we will lose this business. So हम आशीष को डरा से थे, भाई ये business नहीं आएगा, तो you are the person to be blamed for. So but in a good way. I mean, those helped. Whatever, all of that tricks, I would say, and it helped us. All those tactics helped us, and customers constantly came saying, "Acha, missed call." There was a boom in 2014-15. Missed call service became a big boom. Twitter, missed calls used to be a big. So you used to get somebody who tweets so people who are not on Twitter app, you'll get an SMS. For example, Mahendra Singh Dhoni or Amitabh Bachchan tweets, you get an SMS of what he tweeted. So a very popular service those days, and now it doesn't exist. But all those came in, and customers demanded us on these services.
We'll come back to communication in short. I just want to dip in to the really interesting relationship you have with Ashish.
Yeah.
Because what I understood initially was that here's a guy who's really good at sales and marketing, and here's a guy who's really good at building products, and they are married in a business. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But now that I look at it, there's so many bridges that you have which are common.
Yeah.
How do you... Because you come from a completely different perspective, and so does he. What have you found as ways to communicate to tech guys or to guys who are focused on creating? And what do you think hasn't worked? When was that? Have you had those moments where...
So one of the things that I've realized what doesn't work is most of the tech guys like for me, who's a non-tech, let's assume, I don't know that much, but technical guys, generally I feel they ghumate about it. They keep beating around the bush. They don't talk to the point. And they also if it's a 2 days work, they'll say 5 days work. Something like it's like you feel it's I personally feel it's like 2 din ka kaam hai. Why are you taking 5 days, 10 days? So I feel this is too much. And that's where Ashish sort of have stepped in to balance that out. And Ashish really goes into saying, he's master in putting technical stuff into a simple, non-technical, or so to say, the humanized way to understand things. This work is actually 5 days, and this is how it will happen because we need to do this. So I think I would say for us, the backbone has been Ashish. Tech has been really the backbone of this company. Without technology, we would have not been able to scale. And the scale and the growth that we got is purely because we own the whole tech stack. We own it. We have built it on our own, and that's been one of the true success story for that tech stack. And these are the conversations that we have. Today also we keep arguing about this guy is not working, that guys are not, technical guys are not working. And then on the other side, I get arguments saying, our technology team is the smallest team in the company right now. We need to, how can you expect me to build things so faster? So we need to invest more in technology. And so we keep constantly debating about this and having our own arguments on this. But also I think Ashish also undermined his potential because he always worked with people with basic skills who could do just some basic stuff. But now he also realized that he needs more people up the ladder who can push things, who can lead teams, who can get things executed end to end, not just do one piece but also look at a larger picture. So that has changed a lot. And for the last 1 or 2 years, we've been going through some product. We keep doing product update and product releases. It's not been up to the mark purely because too much to handle on Ashish's shoulders right now. But we'll get there. But now, right, I think all those learning curves will help us to get better. I think
has to be.
Yeah.
What are some fun things which those who are into your sales team and you get, but Ashish's tech team doesn't get?
So one of the thing is, Ashish is also he's an entrepreneur again, and everything he relates, he always makes it like technology is equal to business, right?
That's a very powerful. Say that again.
Yeah, technology is equal to business, right? Ashish is always relative about, he's very, very calculative about what is the business coming. And one of the challenges that I see in my sales team is, they bring in all sorts of customers and say, this customer wants this. Just because we are customer centric and customer focused, they'll bring in like somebody who's not even will not even give us like 1,000 business, or a 50k business or a 100k business in the year. They want to do that customization on the platform.
Because they want to close the deal and...
So, and Ashish is like, why do you, and Ashish is very, like, what is the business? He'll ask all of these questions before even getting into he's going to ask how much business it will come from this customer. Why are you doing this? Why should we do? How much will he pay? Will the customer pay extra? So, will he pay for the setup fees? Will he pay for one-time development? All of that. So, I think those are one of the frictions that we keep having. Mm-hmm. And business guys say, you don't need to worry about what business we get and how we get, but you have to just trust us. And I think Ashish has been good filter there. Typically, managing team this side and getting the learning curve has been that we will not do for. Earlier we used to do everything, but now we do it for very specific. If there's a value in a customer, then we go back and do it. We put them on a priority. Otherwise, we don't do anything.
You people can observe the changes that have happened as the company is scaled.
Yeah.
Because going from taking as many customers as possible, 200 e-commerce websites in a year, to really narrowing it down and being the chooser of your client. Because I firmly believe that you choose your clients and that chooses your future.
Absolutely.
You merge with Ubiquity and Hook Mobile, and this crazy global collaboration is underway. Because it's still happening. Though it's out there in the world, internally it's still, because I know we've had an interaction getting the cultures to work, the diversity to sink in. It is going to take time. And I'm just curious to know, is this the kind of trend that Indian startups will notice?
Yes, I think a lot of startups today, at least I've seen the mindset is that I would call this as a collaboration. The simple reason is at some point in time, you need to figure out what is there's a growth, right? You grow from one point to point and then you sort of saturate, right? At some point you will saturate because of, or if you don't really innovate or scale. And we believe that the only way to make it to the biggest, like a vision, sometimes you need to collaborate. In 2016 when we met, and I think we were stable as a business. We were doing decent amount of business. We were constantly looking at global expansion, and for global expansion we needed a lot of investment. So we said, okay, what do we do? We don't have a lot of money because whatever money we made, we had to put it back in the company. So we were always like on a...
So it's raised one round of funding, is that correct?
Yeah, no, we never raised money.
You never raised money?
We never raised money until 2016.
Okay.
From 2009 till 2000, we never raised money. We were bootstrapped, organically grown from zero to... We did about 25 million on our own until 2016.
We'll talk about all of that in a moment. But back...
So I think collaboration was the point. Expansion was the point. So by 2015, 15, we realized... Me and Ashish said, okay, what is next big? We should do IPO. We should keep a bigger vision. Then we'll work towards it. Also, the reality that, it's harder in India, difficulty, it will take years. Right. And then we met Ubiquity, which is Dario and his team in Mobile World Congress 2016, February. We met them, and the first conversation happened is he asked us, what is the vision for the company? And said, we want to take this company to IPO. Then he said, great, be my guest. Even we want to take our company to IPO. Can we explore doing it together? So
that's an unusual.
The first meeting was very unusual, and especially with the Italian accent, how things we could not understand. It was too noisy. We could not understand. Me and Ashish confused. We said, okay, we'll discuss. Let's sign. Then we said, okay, let's sign an NDA. We signed an NDA. Within a month or so, they came visited us. We spent good 3-4 days interacting, having conversation. They looked at our office. They really liked us, what we were doing. They said, let's explore the opportunity, and that's how the journey.
It's interesting that Dario mentioned that he looks at people. He's of course a very interesting and celebrated entrepreneur, and he's a very audio student of psychology and humans. And he mentioned it so beautifully that he looks at people instead of their goals. What did you look at him and his company, other than the fact that you had a common goal of IPO?
So I think that what I looked at Dario was the kind of experience that he had, right? He started this company 20 years back, and we were really mesmerized with the whole... he owns... so he mentioned that 95% of the banks work with them. So we were...
30 banks?
Yeah. 95% of the Italian banks.
Oh, that's 95% of the banks?
Wow. The banks You name the bank, they're all working with Kalera in Italy. You're like, wow, that's like killer. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, in 20 years, it was built a business model which all the banks use. All the messages, everything goes to the Kalera platform.
And he's a non-tech entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's a non-tech entrepreneur. So he hired a CTO, and all of them have joined later on. He just and they have a very interesting. They have so much memories, right, of that experience. So they keep sharing, So he worked until 37 years. From his 21 to 37 years, he was working in Oracle and all these couple of other companies, and we were really like, okay.
He also had a very interesting college project.
Yeah. And he also had a lot of appreciation for us. Like, you guys are doing great, and which is very unusual. Like India, nobody like ठीक है software company, okay. Here, like, you guys are brilliant. You guys are like, okay. I mean, he constantly spoke about us and really, okay, we really got, okay, this is something good. So I think it's time to start having a serious conversation. And I think that's what we liked in Dario, because he spent so much time, and he also valued our technology. He valued what we built. Plus, he had this whole expertise of so much background that he had that gave us that. One of the things I really liked is that he's a sailor. His passion for sailing is a lot. So we really liked him truly from that perspective.
Don't tell me you went on a cruise ship and...
No, we want to do that once.
Oh, okay.
Not cruise ship, we'll do sailing. Proper ship.
Proper
sailing.
Oh.
So Dario teaches every August or around June, July, August. He goes for about 2 weeks sailing camp, and he's a teacher there.
Oh, wow.
So he teaches students sailing. Interesting. So we would do it maybe next year. I would do it.
Now, any sponsors listening to it, reach out.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at this fact that the two of you bootstrapped it for so many years, 7+ years, and then did an IPO. Now that sounds really fancy, but I can understand the ups and downs we've discussed and so many more that I've just been on the grain. What was it like for starting from scratch and going till the IPO, if you look back at it?
It was a dream, I would say. A dream that was just sort of discussed, just sort of told, we want to become an IPO, and then making it happen. And a lot of people do, a lot of people say, I'm going to become, my company is going public, I'm planning to do this. But how many people really that translates, right? That reality, dream into a reality, right? And we've been really fortunate about that whole journey, right? And I think fundamentally the reason has been that both of us are really focused, passionate about what we do, because entrepreneurship comes within us blood. So we know the ups and downs of taking this, and one of the things is realized that collaboration is the key. So one is that a lot of companies, a lot of entrepreneurs are very averse to non-collaboration, and they don't they take a lot of time to collaborate. They do a lot of thinking whether it works or not works. I think we've gone through all that. It's very different culture, different to collaborate with. It's different styles of Italian working and our working. But I think there's a common point, and more than that, also Ashish and me, both of us got a global role in Kalera, which was part of the whole, and that gave us an excitement, saying, okay, great, we have built a company. I think now it's time to go global, and if we can get a global responsibility. So there's no strategic in nature, not just one-way collaboration, but collaborative collaboration with an equal distribution of responsibility. I'm very happy about what we've built, but at the same time very conservative and be realistic. We've not done too much of noise about IPO. Like somebody say, you want company? I would say, okay, thank you so much. Nothing more than that. I mean, we both like to stay low and
How does the family respond? Because in a way you've really proved those naysayers and critics, and of course the ones who believe.
Family treats me like normal but kid still. They think I don't know anything. But that's a funny part. So nothing has changed. In fact, with family. And the other day, my uncle was saying, see, even I'm making the CEO click photograph. So shadi ka tha, so I was clicking his photographs. Look, the CEO is clicking my photograph. So people, those little fun things, but nothing has changed. I mean, in general, there's been a great proud feeling. Everybody talks about it. But I think at the same time, you need to be grounded. You need to, because there's a lot more to do. I mean, this is just the start. I know we are one of the few who made it to IPO at New York Stock Exchange. Hope to do maybe a couple of more.
I love I think this is the first time, because I'm not a student of finance, so I may be silly at this, but the strategy that was applied to get to IPO was unusual. So for the ones who are not aware of it, it's sort of, how do I say it? It's sort of just going to a buffet dinner and taking the best things and offering it to people. Can you just walk us, the listeners, through how?
I think the whole process is very simple. So Dario had this big vision of IPO. We had also this vision. So Dario said, you know what, I think when you collaborate, we'll give you a global role. So, I think first we need to combine the entities. So we did a combination in 2017. Once that combination happened, we went on this combination, which is India and Italy, Milan. And we did another combination, which is a Hook Mobile. That happened after 7-8 months. So we were already combined. Hook Mobile joined us. So Dario, which is Kalera, acquired Hook Mobile fully. And then it became like a revenue, which is India contributes about 40 million. Which is Kalera, Italy contributed about 60 million, and the other 25 comes from US. So all put together, $125 million of revenue. Then we had another 6 months of due diligence audit for SEC filing, which is stock exchange. All of that process, due diligence, took about 6-8 months to get to that whole process. And Dario actually moved from Milan. He moved his family to New York for this, and worked with SEC officers, worked with New York stock exchange guys to get everything clarified, sorted. So if I have to say things won't work when I'm at 40 million, it's hard for me to go listing because the kind of expenses and everything is so high. So the best way was to sort of become a big giant first, reasonable giant, which is still smaller, but still $125 million in revenue, become a decent size, and then you can actually go public. So that's the process we took through. And for the last couple of months, we were going through like multiple auditors, due diligence, scrutiny, checks, and all that, and finally made it to public.
Unusual, no? Yeah. As I explore the story, when you wanted to expand out of Bangalore, you had to move to Bombay.
Yeah.
Now you have to expand out of India. Darius had to go to New York. We won't ask him the final question. I don't want to. Because I think we're going to have a part 2 of this with Ashish and Aniketh together. Or probably Dario also into the picture.
Yeah, sure.
But let's ask him, what does Kalera mean?
That's an interesting... So Dario started a company called Ubiquity. And we had a company called Solutions with me.
I matched. There's no way
So what happened is, in the market, customers were getting confused. In the sense, what is the company Ubiquity Solutions? We realized that we have unique identity, one identity for all these companies. So Dario engaged a consultant like a brand consultant, and he was very clear he wants a unique name which has no meaning as such, but in the sense that it does not have a meaning on the Google or dictionary or anything. Purely because if it had some meaning, then those names are not available. So we did a thorough exercise for about 3 months with the brand consultant. So they engaged a consultant, they interviewed us, went through that whole process, finally came up with Kalera. So Kalera has a combination of 2 words. Kalos is the first word and Ira is the second word. Kalos means handsome Greek, which resembles the Italian context. Smart, handsome Greek. Ira is agile, fast, which is a Sanskrit word, Ira. And they came up with these 2.
What does it mean in Sanskrit?
Ira, E-R-Y-A, it means in Sanskrit, it's wild, agile panther.
Acha, okay. Oh.
Animal. So it resembles the Indian context. So then, Kalera became the word K-A-L-E-R. So you can say era of communication. You can also make it that form. But this is the true sort of it was a proper exercise done. So, we had only got one option. So the guy gave us only one word called Kalera. And it was short, simple, available. We decided to change. Everybody decided to change the name of from Ubiquity it became Kalera, from Solution became. So today as a brand, we talk as Kalera as one brand. So it makes internally, externally, everybody looks united, together. And that's the...
It's such a pleasant and refreshing talking to you and exploring your journey.
Thank you.
How can the listeners reach out to you if they have?
Great. So listeners can reach out to me. So all the young entrepreneurs and listeners can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My email ID is aniketh.jain. NGW, which is a SaaS tech, agent-driven technology that can solve a problem. More than happy to invest. We're an early angel investor, but yeah, happy to and also advise some startups if they need some help in terms of how to get scale growth, and happy to also give them access to the network that we've built today. So we have more than 3,000 customers. We do like 30 billion messages a year. So happy to share all that experiences, all those information whenever they need.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
That's very generous.
Thank you.
All the links and details of reaching out to him are in the show description.
Yeah.
On that note, go make some karata.